Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see about the American War of Independence. This war was also called the Revolutionary War, and this war started because of the tension which was growing between the residents of Great Britain's 13 North American colonies and the colonial government. This colonial government represented the British crown. And there was a lot of tension between the British troops and the colonial militiamen in Lexington and Concord. And in April 1775, this tension kicked off the armed conflict. And by the following summer, the rebels were waging a full scale war for the independence. France, which was actually helping the colonists, that is, colonial people in America, secretly, now entered the American Revolution on the side of the colonists in 1778, and therefore this civil war, which started in a very small way, became great, and now it became an international conflict. And because the French had helped the colonial people, the British had to surrender at Yorktown, Virginia in 1781, and the Americans effectively won the independence, but the formal fighting ended only in 1783. Now we'll see about the war and the historical events and what are the causes of this Revolutionary War. For more than a decade, that is before this American Revolution broke out in 1775, there was a lot of tension between the colonists and the British authorities. The French and Indian War, or they call it as a 7 Years' War, which happened between 1756 to 1763, brought new territories under the power of the crown. But they had to spend a lot for this war, and therefore, in order to earn more money, that is because they had lost a lot of money and their treasury was empty, they started putting new and unpopular taxes. Now, attempts by the British government to raise this revenue by taxing the colonies were like they put the Stamp Act duty, the Townshend Acts duty, Tea Act, and all that, and this created a lot of tension on many colonists because they thought we are not given any representation in the parliament. But why are you asking us to pay the taxes in order to compensate for the expenses which happened in the war? And therefore they said if the British subjects have any rights, the same rights must be given even to the colonial people because we are sharing the burden of the war. And on the night of April 18, 1775, hundreds of British troops marched from Boston to nearby Concord, which is in Massachusetts, and the purpose of it is to seize an arms cache. Paul Revere and other writers sounded the alarm, and the colonial militiamen began mobilizing to intercept the redcoats. On April 19, local militiamen clashed with the British soldiers in the battles of Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts, marking the short herd round the world that signified the start of this Revolutionary War. And when the Second Continental Congress, which was convened in Philadelphia, there were many new additions in the delegates like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, and all these people voted to form a continental army, and they wanted Washington to be its commander-in-chief. In the Revolution's first major battle, colonial forces inflicted heavy casualties on the British regiment of General William Howe at Breed's Hill in Boston. The engagement, known as the Battle of Bunker Hill, ended in British victory, but this encouraged the revolutionary cause. By June 1776, with the Revolutionary War in full swing, a growing majority of the colonists had come to favor independence from Britain. On July 4th, the Continental Congress voted to adopt the Declaration of Independence, which was drafted by a 5-man committee, and among those 5 men were Franklin and John Adams, but it was mainly written by Jefferson. Then we have the American victory at Saratoga, which proved to be a turning point of the American Revolution because it prompted France, which was secretly helping the rebels since 1776, to enter the war openly on the American side. And though it would not formally declare war on Great Britain until June 1778. The American Revolution, which had begun as a civil conflict between Britain and its colonies, now became like a world war. The movement of the American independence effectively triumphed at the Battle of Yorktown, but contemporary observers did not see that as the final victory. British forces remained stationed around Charleston, and the powerful main army still were staying in New York. Though neither side took any decisive action over the better part of the next 2 years, The British removal of the troops from Charleston and Savannah in late 1782 finally ended the conflict. British and American negotiators in Paris signed preliminary peace terms in Paris late that November, and on September 3, 1783, Great Britain formally recognized the independence of the United States in the Treaty of Paris. At the same time, Britain also signed separate peace treaties with France and Spain, because Spain also had entered the conflict in 1779, bringing the American Revolution to a close after 8 long years. By the time of the American Revolution, American writers had ventured beyond the Puritan literary style and its religious themes and had developed styles of writing that grew from distinctly American experiences. The colonial fascination with science, nature, freedom, and innovation came through in the writings of the Revolutionary period. The colonists also developed their own way of speaking, as well as no longer copying the more formal style of British writers, because till then they were only copying their style. And some of the best literature of the colonial era described everyday life in New England and in the process depicted aspects of the fledgling American character. The colonists who would form a new nation were firm believers in the power of reason. They were ambitious, inquisitive, optimistic, practical, politically astute, and self-reliant. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.